Hello aspirants, and this lecture will be about Arctic and Antarctica. Now, unfortunately for prelims 2026, you will have to cover these two continents as well, also because of climate change and some instances that are happening around the Arctic Circle. So when we are covering Arctic, why not just go over Antarctica as well? So we start first with Arctic. So first of all, countries around the Arctic. Now, if you are going with the newspapers and also looking at what countries surround the Arctic, you should be pretty thorough and it's pretty easy to learn as well. So, first of all, we have Russia covering more than half the Arctic right over here. Entire half of Arctic is covered by Russia. Then we have two countries of Norway, Sweden. Also, we can consider Finland. It is not getting a direct access, but it is still there. Iceland is obviously there. Greenland being a part of Denmark. Denmark is over here. So Denmark being a part of Greenland, and Canada and the United States through the state of Alaska. Now, one question which will become important for this is the difference between Scandinavia and Nordic countries. What is Scandinavia? Scandinavia is a group of three countries: Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. Finland does not form a part of Scandinavia. So we have Denmark, Finland, Norway, and Sweden, DNS, as part of Scandinavia. And what is Nordic countries? In Nordic countries, you add Finland and Iceland. That's it. So this becomes Nordic countries. Nordic countries is Scandinavia plus Finland plus Iceland. Okay, so remember that. And now we have Arctic is actually the region around the North Pole across the Arctic Circle. Most of it is surrounded by land. We have covered Russia, yes, Canada, yes, US through Alaska, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Iceland. Okay, we've covered all. So I hope it's easy for you guys to remember as well. Next, we have why there is so much of attention going on with the Arctic. You see, when the ice shelves have started to melt, then people, the political leaders are seeing that there can be another route to reach each other through the Arctic Circle. None of these routes will be going through and through the top. Most important reason is it will be frozen for most part of the year. Now, the freezing does not mean it will all become ocean. Less freezing and the climate change means that it will be accessible for 2 to 3 more months. Now, in trade and commerce terms, this is a huge benefit, a huge profits, and a lot economy will be blowing up like anything. Hence, these two routes have suddenly become extremely important. What are those two routes? One is the Northern Sea route and the other is the Northwest Passage. Northern Sea route controlled by Russia. Northern Sea route is this one, going through and through Russia, out of the Bering Sea and here. Next is the Northwest Passage, which is mostly controlled by US and allies. So these two are the main routes which you should remember. Just remember Northern Sea route, R for route, R for Russia. What we are left with? We are left with Northwest Passage, and that becomes US. So US and Canada are also in dispute regarding who controls the Northwest Passage, because Canada says that because the routes are going through its islands, it is a Canadian territory. But US and its allies, mostly in the NATO, say that no, these are international routes, so they have to be under international law. Let's see how that turns out. Sometimes logic fails. Now, we'll also have to remember the seas which form a part of the Arctic Ocean. Till last year, we did not have to look so deep into this, but from this year, I think you should. Let us start again. I'm trying to make it easy. Let's see how far we can get. So, let's start from Russia. Okay, we have the Barents Sea, Kara Sea, Laptev, East Siberian. Now, first things first. East Siberian is in the east of Siberia, so we are taking care of that. East Siberian Sea is above Siberia. Perfect. We're left with Laptev, Kara. Now, Kara Sea is just next to the island of Novaya Zemlya. So, Kara Sea is next to Novaya Zemlya and Barents Sea. Barents, Kara, Laptev. Then we have East Siberian Sea. Greenland Sea, obviously, next to Greenland. And we read in North American lecture that Baffin Island and Greenland is separated by the Baffin Bay. We have that here. Finally, the Beaufort Sea over here. That's it. Chukchi Sea is fine here, but not that important because Bering Strait and Bering Sea becomes more important. So remember this. Now, one important factor is when you are looking at the globe from the top, like over here, it is very easy to get confused between east and west. So whenever you are looking at a globe, just move south. Okay. So this is the Arctic Circle. Russia is here. Now, how will you understand? You see, if Russia is here, that means China is here. That means India is somewhere here. That means the Middle East will be somewhere here. Okay. So this becomes eastern part of the world. And Alaska is here, so this becomes the western part of the world. Go south and you will start understanding things in a much better manner. Most probably such a question will be coming in UPSC Prelims 2026. What you need to do is whenever an Arctic Ocean or an Antarctic Ocean comes in the question, then you need to just look at the top and then move south so that you know what is the east-west direction. North-south is pretty explanatory, just the east-west direction. That's all you need to know. Now, Antarctica. So this lies entirely south of the 60 degrees south latitude. One very important question, why 60 degrees south latitude here, but 66.5 degrees north latitude for the Arctic Circle? We'll get to that. 60 degrees south latitude here. This has been decided by the Antarctic Treaty that anything falling below the 60 degrees south latitude will form a part of the Antarctica. One big reason for that is there is not much land over here. The closest land we can see is this island here, South Orkney Island of the UK, and nothing else. The rest are just research stations which you can see. But in Arctic, beyond the 60 degrees north latitude, there are land masses, literal land masses of Russia, of Denmark in the form of Greenland, Canadian islands, everything is there. So they cannot come with such a definition for the Arctic Circle because literally land masses are so close to each other. But over here, we can come to 60 degrees south latitude, and I'm so glad they did it because they would have started fighting over this piece of land as well. Now, some seas with the Antarctica. Most important thing is you need to remember two, Weddell Sea and the Ross Sea. Friends, fans can remember Ross Sea very well. He was also a paleontologist, very much interested in science. So there is Ross Sea in Antarctica and there is the Weddell Sea. Why is Ross Sea important? Now, Ross Sea is important because it is a major shelf and it is losing ice very fast. That becomes Ross Sea extremely important. We have rest, Bellingshausen, Amundsen. There is one Russian sea as well. It's not here, but yeah, it's called Cosmonaut Sea. It is somewhere, must be around Russia. The thing looking at Russia. Now, Antarctic Peninsula. In Antarctica, there is this peninsula, a piece of land that is jutting outside. This is the biggest and the most major landform you need to remember about Antarctica. This and the Drake Passage are closest to each other. Where is the Drake Passage? We read that in the South American lecture. The Drake Passage right below Argentina. One of the very tricky passages for any sailor to get across. So Drake Passage over here. Now, Antarctic Treaty, 1959. This decided 60 degrees south. And no military activity, only peaceful use, no nuclear tests, only scientific cooperation. Madrid Protocol bind Manning till 2048. So you can see that what kind of world we are living in, that we need to come across a protocol so that mining does not happen in that piece of land. And scary part is it is still 2048 only. Where does India stand? Now, there are four major research stations of India. One is in Arctic, that is called Himadri Station, in the Svalbard island of Norway, Svalbard region or island of Norway, established in 2008. Antarctica has Dakshin Gangotri, Maitri and Bharti. How do you remember these? Dakshin Gangotri is pretty explanatory. Antarctica, Dakshin Gangotri, pretty much south. Okay, and Dakshin means south in Hindi. Himadri, compare it to Himachal. When you are, what do you call Himachal? Pretty much a northern state of India. Thus, a northern region of India, a northern state of India, parallel to northern part of the globe, that is Himadri Station in Arctic. What we're left with? Dakshin Gangotri, Maitri and Bharti. One important thing about Arctic and Antarctica is Arctic is mostly ocean. It is mostly sea. There is Russia, there is Alaska, there is Canada, Denmark, Greenland, and the Scandinavian and Nordic countries over here. It is sea over here, all water. But Antarctica is a piece of land. Now, this land has developed ice over it, ice and snow over it. So, when ice melts over an Arctic, we are getting sea, we are getting ocean passages. But when ice melts over Antarctic, we are getting land. That's why mining has to be banned here. Now, after going through Arctic and Antarctica, let's go to the desert conditions of West Asia. Our next lecture will be on West Asia. Thank you.